I sat down with Thomas Doherty, the Executive Director of the Australian-American Fulbright Commission, to find out more about the exchange program that even predates ANZUS.
The ANZUS Treaty was not the first treaty to be signed between our two nations, was it?
It wasn't, and I think most people assume that it was, and especially in the 70th anniversary year of the ANZUS Treaty. But actually 2 years prior to that, the very first treaty between the United States and Australia was signed, and it was the treaty that established the Fulbright exchange program between the two countries, which has been flourishing since 1949.
From Australian politicians such as Greg Hunt and Bob Carr to American ambassadors like Tom Pickering, many Fulbright scholars have gone on to play a big role on the world stage. Fulbright's view was that when scholars become leaders, they're more likely to exchange ideas than bullets.
So J. William Fulbright was a senator from the state of Arkansas, Democratic senator, and after the war, he'd been a Rhodes Scholar himself in the 1930s, and found that to be a really seminally important part of his political trajectory. But in the aftermath of World War II, he had the idea and got bipartisan support, which in and by itself is kind of a novel idea right now, with the support of a congressman from Ohio named Hayes, to come up with a program that would use excess war material that would have been sold, in essence also forgiving debts between countries, to establish an international scholarship organization that would bring people to the United States and bring Americans to their countries. Since then, it now operates in 160 countries. But what was really unique about that, it was very much conceived in the ashes of World War II. The idea that if there was a strong people-to-people exchange, a world with, as he said, more compassion, more reason, more knowledge, that perhaps we could avoid the conflagration of conflicts like World War II.
Thousands of Fulbrighters have taken part in the exchange program between Australia and the United States, building an extraordinary network of scholarship.
There's a network now, about 5,500 Australians and Americans have spent time in one another's country. And I think just that experience, I mean, you know, especially when you're young, although we have professors as old as 77, 78, sometimes taking part in Fulbright programs as well, but you establish those personal and professional connections. They last a lifetime. You see it in government, you see it in science, you see it in journalism, you see it in the arts, you see it, of course, in academia as well. But it's been very successful in bringing those people together, and more important, it's maintained those networks after the initial award has been completed. I think what makes it really unique is, of course, it's a scholarship organization, so it fosters academic excellence and the exchange of knowledge, but from the very beginning, it was also clearly intended to be a cultural exchange to foster mutual understanding between peoples and create networks. The idea being when people work with each other, when they know each other both socially and professionally, misunderstandings, conflicts can be mitigated. So as important as the academic exchange component is, equally important is the cultural exchange.
With its ambition to help prevent future conflicts, the founding principles of Fulbright are as important today for contemporary educators as it was for Senator Fulbright himself. Established in 2011, Torrens University is Australia's youngest university. Torrens CEO Linda Brown believes Fulbright's approach is just as important today.
It was really about making sure that we moulded together knowledge and the heart and purpose. And for me, the most important thing about being a university, especially an international university, where I believe every student is an international student, no matter what country they came from, they need that attitude, is that's about soft diplomacy. You know, it's really going to be important, especially in the situation that we find ourselves now in the Indo Pacific. We have 8% Chinese students, that when we're in a classroom, even if it's virtual, we understand each other better. We actually take time to understand each other's point of view. And that was really why Fulbright set it up, wasn't it? That he knew, you know, and if we ever needed it, it's now. You know, we look at all the things like diversity, we look at human rights, we look at economic mobility, all these things, sustainability, all these things will only be solved through understanding and tolerance. And I believe that's what Senator Fulbright was about when he set up the scholarships years ago.